Yeah, but
Right. Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand.
English language teaching. Under the covers.
Hello and welcome to ELT Under the Covers Teaching Masters, where we look into the world of media, internet, etc., and we look at educators that we think could bring something to the world in their unconventional styles of teaching. Today we are looking at a teacher, a sensei, Mr Miyagi. Is he a good teacher? Let's find out. I'm Neil of Team Teacher.
Hello, everybody. It's Professor Leach. Oh, wow.
Look
Okay.
at that. I'm ready, Rich,
All right.
to look
Let's
at Mr.
go.
Miyagi. So, Mr. Miyagi, you've seen Karate Kid. Obviously, you know, with your extensive background in karate, you know the ins and outs of that. Would you say
Yeah.
he's a good teacher from the standpoint of being a professional educator yourself, and also you're going through that karate learning experience?
So, actually, I don't know a lot about Karate Kid. I think it's one that I watched when I was like very young or something, but I don't remember a lot about it. I'm more familiar with Cobra Kai.
Right, okay. So that's his students. And I think further down the line, if people watching this want to, we can look at the teachings of Johnny Lawrence and
should
Danny
definitely do that.
LaRusso. But, you know,
Yeah.
first we're going to
But for the
focus on the
moment,
OG.
Miyagi. So obviously the meme is the wax on, wax off thing. And this is the idea that he gives him all these chores and the kid is like, what the hell's going on? Why are you getting me to clean the toilet or whatever? And then later on he like shows him that actually the cleaning the toilet motion is like exactly what you need to like break someone's rib cage or something.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds about right.
Right. But there's also kind of a Zen thing to it, isn't there?
Yeah, I think maybe it would be best if we just jump in and let's see this. Let's see him teaching. Let's see that in action.
Walk on the road. Walk right side, safe. Walk left side, safe. Walk middle. Sooner or later, get the squish, just like grip. Here, karate, same thing. Either you karate do yes, or karate do no. You karate do gesso, just like grip. Understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Now ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yes. Let's make sacred pact.
Sacred pact.
I promise teach karate. That's my part. You promise learn. I say you do. No question. That's your part.
Indoctrination. Okay.
Yep.
This. First wash all the car. Then wax. Wax.
Wait, why do I have to watch all the car?
Remember deal. No question.
Yeah, but
Right. Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand. Wax on, wax off. Breathe in through nose, out the mouth. Wax on, wax off. Don't forget to breathe. Very important. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off.
Hey, where'd these cars come from?
Wax on. Detroit. Wax off. On.
I love how he's doing it as walking away.
Wax on. Right hand, make a circle. Wax off, left hand, circle.
This is the practice, right?
This is the practice.
Sort of.
It's just straight into
Practice,
practice.
and then it's practice, and then later we're going to see the production. Is that right?
Yes, we're going to
Yeah,
see
something like that.
it coming together
Yeah.
after.
So I guess the first thing to talk about chronologically
Mhm.
is we start with the pact.
Yes. Which it's kind of we're teaching in the classroom. It's a little bit unspoken in terms of you do the students do here they do like not bow, but they do there's an acknowledgement that the person that's teaching there is the person, the expert, and that you have to listen and follow and do what they say. There's the only pact really that I've ever administered or heard about is just doing the classroom rules, where you kind of start at the beginning of the course. Look, how is it that you're wanting this class to look? What are some rules, especially when teaching kids? It's good to kind of have everyone on board and not just make the rules, but then just say, kind of do it together. But in terms of going, all right, here we're going to make a deal where you just do everything that I say, no questions asked, and if you do that, then you'll learn. I've not really come across that. Is that a pact that you make?
It's funny you should say that. I did have so the procedure at my current institution does involve there's a procedural classroom, what's it called? Behavior contract and
Mm.
code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
And the behavior contract says stuff like, I will complete the homework on time. I will work hard to study. I'll do my best to pass these, all this kind of stuff. I'll
Mm-hmm.
speak only English in class. And then the code of conduct says stuff about, well, the kind of more, college policy stuff. Don't bring knives into college and stuff like that, right? Don't bring any alcohol into the college. So, and these things are extensive documents actually with really small text. It's
Mm-hmm.
like font size like 8 and like full A4 page, just totally covered in text. The kind of thing that I wouldn't want to read through myself.
Yeah.
Most of our students haven't got a hope in hell of reading it. Like it's way, it would be way too challenging for them. So everyone just signs it. And it's kind of one of those things that if someone like starts like showing up late to class regularly, then it's the kind of thing that
This is what
along
you
the
signed.
along the disciplinary procedure that will be given to them and said, well, you agreed to blah blah blah, so why are you doing this? And there's no real teeth behind it, but
You're
it's
not going
kind
to
of
pull an apple and make
it's
them do a human
psychological.
centipede a la
I mean, it's
South
like,
Park.
yeah, like with Mr Miyagi's pack there's no teeth behind that. I mean, what's he going to do
Yeah.
if the kid just walks off and says, I'm not going to wax your car, old man? He's just going to not teach him karate, right?
Yeah.
That's it. But it's the same thing with the code of conduct which they sign. But also, we're supposed to kind of explain it in a PowerPoint, and in the PowerPoint, it says stuff like speak English and blah blah blah. And actually, in the one that I did this year, I did I did put something a little bit like Mr. Miyagi. And I don't know what inspired me to do it because it was partly a joke, but also partly serious as well when I was writing it. It might seem a bit weird to say that. I wonder if I can just
Is this
quickly
like
find it to see what I
uh,
actually did.
if I commit to you, you commit to me, and together we can achieve greatness?
Yeah, I think that's theoretically what it could have been, but
Don't
it might
waste
have
my damn
also might have
time.
also might have also just been a moment of madness. Let me just see what I actually wrote. Oh, so first of all, with attendance, I wrote attendance. I wrote you must attend 100%, and then I've put a pair of angry-looking eyes. And then I put a night. We have this big thing about attendance, and
Yeah.
some people just don't take it seriously. And actually, my attendance is really good this year because it's one of those things as well. Working at an institution, you find this when you're a teacher going to different institutions. The first time you go in, the first couple of semesters, you're still kind of like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I'm still trying to work out how this all works,
Yeah, it's a
and
bedding in process.
the things that start kicking you in the ass, like halfway through term, like, suddenly you're getting shit from someone about your attendance or whatever. And it's like, what the hell? Like, oh, it's because like that's what they really care about because that's what the metric, that's what my boss gets measured on by her boss, and he gets measured on that by the actual college, and the college get measured on that by the government who pay the grants, who pay the funding. So all you start to get a grasp of the picture and how it all works. And you're right, okay, so attendance is really important to them. So then it filters down, doesn't it? So now in my induction, right at the start with my new class, I made a big deal out of it. I was like, you must attend every class. And if there's a real serious reason why you can't, you must contact me with that reason, because there's certain things we can authorize, right? So if, for example, it's a childcare thing, then if they contact me and say childcare, I can authorize it, and that still counts as 100% attendance then. You see, so you work through these institutional things, but hitting people from the start is a lot more effective, isn't it? Than if you don't get it at the start, you don't get that. Look, attendance is damn well important to us, so make sure you come, right? So I had my little attendance slide. I can just actually, I could just quickly, if I share my screen,
easier
if I
to
share my
start a
screen,
new
will it
habit
totally
than change an ingrained one.
So so that was my attendance slide, and you can see it's impactful. And I'm not a big discipline guy, so to see something like that with the eyes and everything, there's a little bit of humor in there as well. I mean, it was kind of a bit tongue in cheek. It comes along with me being a bit tongue in cheek about it, but also serious in the way that they understand it is. I am serious, and I'm saying, look, at 85%, you have a one-to-one meeting with college management. I've tried to phrase it in terms which make it sound a little bit ominous. Obviously, emergencies and stuff are totally different. It doesn't matter as much. So yeah, so just getting people with that straight away, and then class rules. This is what I put: Rich is the boss. Rule number 1. Now, it's interesting thinking about why I might have put that, because over the years, I found myself being much more having a one-to-one relationship with students, or whatever, what you call it, person-to-person relationship, and you don't need so much discipline and all that. But actually, the way I think that works best is if you hit them with this stuff right from the start and say, look, I am the boss. What's going to happen is decided by me. If I don't want to answer your question, I'm not going to answer your question. Because I have enough confidence in my teaching that I know what I'm doing, and I know that I can decide whether that's a useful question or not. And I even know when I can question myself to decide whether maybe I should consider a student suggestion over my own idea, because I have enough experience to do that. And I've put here, I reserve the right to make fun of you, which I don't think the college would approve of that language, but that's the way I've put it. I reserve the right to make fun of you, and I've put in brackets, in a good-natured way. Now, to the lower levels, I have to explain what that means. If you communicate with someone in a language other than English, if you miss a class without emailing me, if you arrive late to class and don't apologize, or if you use your phone for messaging or translation, right? So I'm hitting them with something with the most extreme level of my discipline. Like I'm not a strict teacher, and I would never be. I never. Maybe sometimes I do come across a bit like this, but the thing is, if you establish it like this at the start, you don't have any issues, and you're still going to get the occasional comments in another language, but people are a lot more sheepish about it. And you have said that you will make fun of them. And I do, actually, which, again, I don't think the college would approve of that. And it could well get me in trouble. We have a joke, and all of my students know it, even from last year. And they say it to each other as well. which is whenever anyone speaks to someone in a language other than English, they say, no Japanese, no Japanese. That's just something that I started doing. Like they kept talking. It's normally Ukrainian because there's so many Ukrainians, but I'd just be like, oi, no Japanese in class. And for some reason it's become a thing. And now all my classes, they say it to each other. So if someone starts talking in Kurdish or whatever, then someone else will be like, no Japanese. And the funny thing is, we were making some class signs for the class the other day. And so they wanted to do some of the rules, they like be respectful and stuff like that. And then one of them was like, "Hey, let's do no Japanese." I was like, "No, we're not. We're not going to write that down. And if we did, we would have to make it very clear that it's not talking about the nationality. It's talking about speak only English in class."
It's really ironic because we're kind of talking about this sensei, this Japanese sensei. Well, actually, I think the actor's Korean, but. The character
Right.
is Japanese.
The character's Japanese.
But what about his teaching? So this idea of just setting a task and the student has to do it blindly. It kind of feels like a physical version of rote learning.
Yeah. So, first of all, just to wrap up what I was previously saying,
Sure.
I think this is what he did. I think he's laying it on thick at the start. Because what we discover about Mr. Miyagi later on is he's very personable. He's got a sense of humor, right? He's kind of charming. But at the start, he's like, do this. This is our pact, right? Go, wash the car and keep going. Right. Yeah. And then when he asks the question, he's like super like, no questions. Right. Whereas actually he does answer questions later on in the teaching. Because he gives wisdom, doesn't he? And the kid asks him about stuff. Does he ask him about a girl or something?
Yeah, he asks him
like,
about
women
different
are
things,
like
and
a flying kick or something.
And he gives these Confucian-esque kind of answers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he does accept questions. Yeah. He just lays the groundwork of no questions.
Very true.
Right? Yeah, which is and that's the same with me. Actually, I do permit you to use your phone in class. Right, but I lay the groundwork of no. So the point is, there's a time and a place. There's an appropriate moment, right? Sometimes you can, but you will discover when those appropriate moments are. I'll tell you, for example, maybe I don't know how Mr. Miyagi invites questions. It'd be nice to see it, but he probably says like, "Oh, can I help you with this lady trouble you're having?" or whatever, So it's not a complete rule, but it starts off. Just make it black and white and clear so people know their boundaries, right?
Yeah, setting expectations.
That's what he does. So then we move on to this task thing. So I think this is because it's a disciplinary type of skill, martial art, right? It's kind of that army military thing, right? Which is like do without question and go with it and do this practice. I think in language teaching, personally, I go the opposite direction. So I actively explain and try to get students to understand why they're doing something rather than ask for any kind of just blind, just do this and trust me and you'll see it works out. You'll see it works out in 5 years' time. I don't think... Perhaps you could do that with language learning of a certain kind. Maybe if it was in the military, you just had a look, just repeat after me, and eventually you'll see that.
Well, isn't that what we've looked at with like direct method and the army method and that sort of stuff, where they just repeat the words?
I think it is a little bit, yeah.
It is. It's rote learning.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit. However, I think the benefits of that are more obvious than asking someone to wax a car and then it being applicable to martial arts. So it'd be interesting to know if there's a version of that for language teaching. Like, for example, if I said to my students, right, okay, lesson 1. Okay, everyone, you ready? Lesson 1, I want you to go right, do that for 3 hours every day. and we'll see where we are in a week, or something like that, right?
I've wondered
And then it
about
found
this,
out.
and because I've got 2 young kids, and one thing that I wondered about, with learning phonics and stuff like that, there always seems to be in class and videos, lots of kind of like make animal noises, make animal sounds, and I'm like, why are we even teaching this? Or is it just because it's easy, and it's fun and stuff like that? But I always kind of wondered that maybe is there in doing these noises, it's kind of like them practicing these different sounds, like moo and bah, because it's always big with the lips and stuff like that, and they're not kind of words, they're just kind of sounds, but it's an acceptable way. You can't going around just going like you saying going ruh, 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 ruh. But if it's like a rabbit that's going ruh, 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 or a Pokemon or whatever, then it's kind of acceptable. It's like in a narrative.
Yeah, like if a little kid's running around the room going like quack 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 quack, you're just like, oh, that's just a kid playing.
Yeah.
And if they're running around the room going like, you'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Actually, or maybe not. But yeah, I think that's kind of exactly it. I think it is exactly that. I think there's even more to it, in fact, because there's also a semiotic. Wait, is that the right word?
I think you're saying
There's semiotic is what I said. There's also a semantic element of linking the meaning of what that animal actually is and what sound it makes, which is an important kind of cognitive thing. But also, yeah, there's definitely a vocal element. One of the major developmental stages of babies is when they start babbling.
Yep.
Babbling is a huge part of vocal practice.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically wax on, wax off.
Mm-hmm.
Blah 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 blah, and then it suddenly turns into, Dad, I need 50 quid.
Yeah, I noticed that very quickly as well.
Yeah, age 3. Dad, I want a car. Yeah, so totally. But could you imagine in a language classroom doing something akin to this? I don't know. Yeah. We're all about authenticity, aren't we? We try and make things as authentic as possible in the language learning classroom.
At a higher level, I don't see how it's possible. I think it's something to explore, and I think if whoever is watching, listening to this, if you have an experience with it, let us know in the comments below, and then we can maybe do a follow-up video and explore that further. I think that would be great. I think what we should do now is kind of go back in and look at the results, look at the production, and then maybe we can tie all of this together.
Okay.
Sand floor. Big circle. Sand floor. Sand floor. Now show me wax on, wax off. Hey.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off. Hey, wax on, hot. Wax off. Hot. Concentrate. Look at my eye. Lock a hand. Thumb inside. Wax on, hot. Wax off, hot. Wax on, hot. Wax off, hot. Wax on. Wax off. Show me penta fence. Up, down. Up, down. Up, down. Other side. Look eye. Always look eye. Show me paint the house. Side. Lock wrist. Side. Yes. Show me wax on, wax off. That! Show me paint the fence. That! Show me side to side. Hat! Show me sand or floor. Hat! Eight! 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 Yes! Start! Oui. And look high. Always look high.
There's this idea out there of experiential learning, and I think it's kind of like what he's going through, like doing this rote memorization, except with the experiential learning there's that obviously that reflection component. So I'm wondering if there's just kind of like this blind trust at the beginning to go through and do the rote learning experience part, and then maybe he just drops this at the end for Daniel to kind of like further see, and then at this point does he go off and kind of reflect and go, oh shit, yeah, this is why I'm doing these katas, or like these forms or whatever, because it allows me to get to this point. I don't know. I'm trying to box it in and label it, I guess.
The reason why I mentioned before that it was maybe an element of the disciplinary side of karate is that for me, it lacks engagement. Like just waxing a car is, it might be interesting for 5 minutes to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be dull for the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were practicing those moves with a partner,
mm-hmm.
that could be interesting for hours.
Yeah.
So there's an engagement issue. But then I think, is part of it that he's testing whether he's got the resolve to become a karate master? It's like, if you can't wax my car for 3 months, then why do you think you can learn from me karate? You obviously don't have the willpower. It's almost like the Fight Club thing of having to sit on the doorstep until they let you in.
Yeah.
Which apparently they got from the French Foreign Legion. I didn't realize this.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
It reminds me more of like cultish kind of thing. Do you know where you've got to it's like part of the indoctrination of you've got to have that buy-in. You've got to sink some time in. You've got to either put in money or put in your time, and then it kind of feels like you've wasted that if you don't actually join.
Yeah, that's not just cults though, is it? Everyone does that.
Oh, it's a selling technique and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and getting people to for their jobs and memberships and stuff. If you make a membership too easy, then they'll just do it and ignore it for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So it applies to everything. But yeah, apparently that thing it's something that the French Foreign Legion did. That if you basically, do you know what the French Foreign Legion is? Like this kind of division of their army that traditionally accepted anyone from anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you are, you can go physically to the French Foreign Legion and join. And then you sign up for, I don't know, like 10 years. And after 10 years, you get French citizenship. That's how it works. But you have to serve in this French Foreign Legion for like 10 years.
Oh, really? I didn't know that to that extent. I just think French Foreign Legion, I just think bastards. Sharp.
Yeah, well, they're not French. They're all foreigners of France. And at the end of it, you get French residency or citizenship or whatever. But to get in, you go there, you turn up, you like knock on the door, say you want to join or whatever, and they're just like, fuck off. And then just, it's one of those.
It's literally the full Monty scene, isn't it? Where they're like, bring a lavash. They throw a couple of cows at you.
Yeah, it's just like that. So it's that kind of test. And yeah, so getting back to Karate Kid, I guess the point is this the Mr. Miyagi thing? He's getting the kid to buy in. He's like, well, fuck, I've been waxing his car for 3 months. I best carry on with this for the rest of my life. It's that getting him to invest a little bit, because otherwise it's a flawed pedagogy from my perspective, because that lacking of engagement is not there.
Yeah,
The
so it's kind of
lack
like
of engagement is there.
he's gone, oh shit, this, a lot of, doing the katas and, all that kind of martial arts stuff is a lot of practicing, doing that, say, getting that muscle memory. And, maybe it's not that engaging. So maybe that's what's needed at the beginning, this buy-in to make you feel like you've joined something, and that's kind of that higher power that pushes you along, rather than constantly feeling like you're being entertained, well, not entertained, but engaged. So it's definitely an interesting approach. I'd love to hear people, especially educators out there listening, have you done anything similar to this? What did you think of his teaching? Let us know in the comments below, and maybe we can do a follow-up and kind of see how Danny LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence has followed up on that. I think that's a fantastic idea, because I love Cobra Kai, and they've got such different styles of teaching. But you've got to let us know. Now, Rich, have you got any final thoughts that you would like to share with us to wrap this up, or are we just
Yeah,
going to bow?
I think I'm gonna controversially say that Mr. Miyagi is not my favorite Japanese teacher, although I don't know who
Hi.
he is, but I've got in my head like a Mr. Miyagi-esque
Shimata.
character. Yeah. It's almost like the archetype that I have in my head is based on Mr. Miyagi,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it'd be like a better version. Yeah, this kind of we want like I think we need a few more lingering pauses, and we need a bit more. Oh. Like Yoda. I think it's Yoda actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but we all thought that Yoda was, to be honest, a bit shit. You should, if you're watching
Oh yeah, he
you should
was.
really check out our Yoda video, because what he says is very controversial when you think about it from an educator point of
Yeah,
view.
that's true. That was a great video. And that was a great video. And Yoda was a shit teacher. But what I meant when I was saying that, I didn't mean that the archetypal Confucianist teacher in my head was necessarily a better teacher. I just meant they were more entertaining. Uh, because it's really entertaining archetype, like, oh, tough guy are you? And then like comes out with like something, bird fly fast when wolf hungry or something, that kind of stuff is it's just brilliant, isn't it? But very entertaining. But is it good teaching? Yeah, I don't know. I
I
think
don't know. There's with
sometimes
something
there's a
with when it's kind of like, as you're saying, bird fly fast, wolf run gets hungry, something like that. It just reminds me of kind of like the way that we often put learning into narrative forms, like parables and all like the religious stuff, because it seems to be the way that people are engaged, but also it's like the sugar that helps the medicine go down. It seems like, in a way, like with all the stuff that Jamie Kelly does, going through stories, telling stories, it seems to seep in better than just directly saying, no, put the pronoun, then verb, then the noun. But if you kind of put it in a story, it seems to
yeah,
sink in.
yeah,
Maybe it's kind of like one of those things. I don't know.
totally it does. Anything that's memorable. It's one of the reasons why certain mnemonics work.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Japanese word is for cat?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you something now, and you'll never forget it. Right? So you're going to imagine a cat with a really long neck, looks like a giraffe, but it's a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And the Japanese word for cat is neko.
No, that's good. That's perfect.
So that's when mnemonics really work and they stick.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of like you were saying, it's like the sugar to help the medicine go down. The medicine is that neko means cat, but the sugar is, oh, cat that looks like a giraffe with a really long neck, ha ha ha, and then you just never forget it. So yeah, I think that's partly what's going on with dialogic storytelling and other elements of engagement in learning.
Okay. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to leave it with what James Bond went to Japan, and he had some lessons from Japanese teachers, and there was a something that he was told that stuck in my head, and I want to share it, and I think it might be a good way to wrap this up. But the book is called You Only Live Twice, and his kind of like sensei kind of teacher in Japan is trying to restore his confidence, and he says, you only live twice, once when you're born and once when you stare death in the face.
Wow.
There you go, kids. If you're looking for more information from myself, you can go to teamteacherchina.com. We've got a whole bunch of materials, PowerPoints that you can use instantly in the classroom. We've got a Team Teacher China YouTube channel where we have videos teaching you how to use those materials. Team Teacher English, where we put those materials into a video form for self-study. And Team Teacher Baby, where I take my experience as a teacher and put that into parenting.
And go to youtube.com/Professor Rich to see some English teaching. You can catch me weekly live streams on Oxford Online English YouTube channel. Oh, and also you can do a YouTube search for POG Space UK, and you would get my alpha version of my new gaming channel, which actually just has some trial content on there at the moment. You can email us here at eltunderthecovers@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to contribute to the show.
Smash that like button, share and subscribe.
And watch 100% of the video and don't click off. Thank you.
Bye.